Discipline, at its core, is a key to this inner journey of force that enables us not only to act in the world, but more importantly, to look at ourselves with courage and determination. The phrase discipline as power over oneself invites us to reflect. What does it really mean to master oneself? Is discipline merely a set of rigid rules or practices? Or can it become a vehicle for true freedom and growth? For Jung, discipline is more than mere impulse control. It's a tool for personal transformation that brings us closer to the self, our most authentic essence. The path to self-mastery requires us to confront our shadows, those parts of ourselves that we often ignore or suppress. Rather than living at the mercy of automatic reactions, discipline challenges us to cultivate awareness and discernment, learning to channel our inner energies consciously and meaningfully. In this video, we'll explore how discipline relates to the process of individuation, the journey of self-development and self-awareness described by Jung. We'll examine how true self-mastery transcends rigidity and leads to a deep understanding of our motivations and unconscious patterns. We'll come to see discipline as a dynamic process not about control, but about growth, where each choice and each renunciation brings us one step closer to who we truly are. This path, however, is not easy, as it requires a willingness to recognize our weaknesses, fears, and often conflicting desires. But it's precisely in the space of confrontation and self-understanding that discipline becomes power, guiding us toward a more integrated and, paradoxically, freer life. Jung believed that where willpower prevails over immediate desire, the first step toward self-transcendence occurs. Thus, discipline is not a denial of pleasure or desire, but a balanced integration of human impulses, where the ego learns to respect the self. Let's delve deeper. How does discipline lead us to internal mastery, and, therefore, true self-power? To what extent can we cultivate this discipline to face our own inner depths and transform our potential into a fuller reality? For Jung, discipline is a fundamental force in the individuation process, where the individual breaks away from the external and cultural influences that have shaped them and turns toward their own authentic path. This process demands discipline precisely because the self, or the totality of the personality, includes aspects that the ego often resists facing. Fears, traumas, repressed desires, and the facets of our shadow don't easily reveal themselves. Discipline is needed to look at these parts of ourselves and consciously integrate them, recognizing that they play an essential role in who we are. Jung viewed the human being as a collection of opposites striving for balance. The ego and the shadow, for example, represent this duality. The ego, our conscious sense of identity, seeks to maintain order, while the shadow is composed of aspects that have been rejected or suppressed. Discipline, then, acts as a skill that allows the ego to make space for these aspects to surface in a controlled way, without overwhelming our psyche destructively. Self-discipline is about finding a balance between allowing repressed aspects to express themselves and maintaining internal harmony. Jung proposed that this integration enables individuals to access latent wisdom and strength. Rather than feeling divided between personal desires and socially acceptable behavior, the disciplined individual, by integrating the shadow, gains power over themselves. They are not driven by impulses or unconscious pressures, but instead use these impulses as guides for self-understanding and transformation. In this sense, discipline plays a crucial role in helping the ego detach from its habitual defenses, allowing a clearer, unobstructed view of the self. In his analytical work, Jung emphasized the importance of a disciplined attitude, as without it, one can easily fall into self-deception or resist confronting inner conflicts. Discipline, therefore, is not merely self-control, but a pathway to healing and deep understanding of the psyche. As we develop discipline, we begin to lay a solid foundation for the individuation process. It's not about suppressing our shadow or impulses, but transforming them. Discipline provides the structure necessary for us not to be at the mercy of our emotions, but rather co-creators of our inner reality. As Jung wrote, without discipline, there is no self-control. Without self-control, there is no self-knowledge. Consider someone who often feels sudden surges of anger in stressful situations, and anger that doesn't align with their self-image as a calm, controlled person. Instead of acknowledging these feelings, they repress them, trying to maintain composure and ignoring the shadow where these intense emotions reside. However, if unaddressed, these repressed emotions can erupt in unpredictable and often harmful ways. Here, discipline functions as self-mastery. Rather than repressing or denying these impulses, the person can adopt a disciplined practice of self-awareness. This practice might include meditation, where they observe their thoughts and feelings without judgment, allowing these impulses to arise and understanding their origins. The discipline of meditating regularly, reflecting on reactions, and seeking support like therapy are all ways to gain mastery over these aspects of oneself. Over time, they may discover that this anger is an emotional response to a sense of powerlessness, perhaps rooted in past situations where they couldn't express themselves freely. A similar example can be seen with procrastination, a common issue often rooted in the conflict between the desire to achieve and the fear of failure or criticism. Instead of following the disciplined path of facing these fears and exploring their deeper causes, many people choose to avoid discomfort. However, self-discipline allows individuals to confront patterns of self-sabotage by setting small goals and applying themselves with consistency and self-acceptance. Gradually, this disciplined practice helps dissolve paralyzing fear and build self-confidence. These examples show how discipline is the means to true self-mastery. Rather than forcing the mind and emotions to fit into a rigid image of control, discipline fosters a healthier relationship with the psyche. This approach not only improves mental and emotional well-being, but also transforms daily life. You emphasize the importance of consciously working with our feelings and impulses, rather than reacting automatically, to prevent the shadow from dominating our behavior. Discipline is the continuous commitment to observe these patterns honestly, allowing the integration of the less conscious parts of ourselves to unfold gradually. This internal mastery enables individuals to respond more authentically and balanced in challenging situations, creating a more fulfilling life less dominated by automatic reactions. In Jungian analytical psychology, discipline is seen as an ongoing journey inward, where true self-mastery isn't about control, but understanding and transformation. For this transformative process to take place, we must confront our shadow, which holds our repressed impulses and often the undeveloped qualities of our personality. Discipline, then, acts as a bridge between the ego and the self, between the conscious and the unconscious. It's also important to recognize that the collective unconscious, a central concept in Jung's work, influences our behavioral patterns and psychological development. In this context, discipline becomes essential for recognizing and working with archetypal influences, universal energies such as the sage, the hero, and the innocent that reside within us. These archetypes operate in our lives as powerful forces that can elevate or confuse us if we lack the inner clarity to handle them. A clear example of how discipline can shape our relationship with archetypes is the development of the inner hero. Many feel the call for self-overcoming, to achieve their goals and realize their dreams. Yet, without discipline, this heroic drive can become an obsessive pursuit of external validation, leading to burnout or frustration. Conversely, a disciplined practice of self-understanding and setting healthy boundaries helps an individual integrate the hero with balance, keeping the focus on personal growth rather than superficial success or approval. You emphasize the importance of resisting the temptation to project our shadow onto the external world, onto others, or onto circumstances. Without discipline, we tend to blame external factors for our problems and frustrations, which prevents us from recognizing and transforming our repressed parts. Discipline helps us internalize these projections, taking responsibility for what we feel and do, and laying the foundation for a more conscious life. The practice of confronting these hidden aspects within ourselves, developing the ability to observe them without judgment, is itself an exercise in discipline. By doing so, we discover that self-mastery isn't a state of total control, but a harmonious dance between inner forces, where all parts of our psyche find their place. Discipline becomes the central axis that keeps us steady and aware as we navigate the vast sea of emotions, impulses, and internal symbols. It is the tool that allows us to be present in our individuation journey, transforming our unconscious potential into authentic, integrated expression. You deeply believe that what you resist, persist, a phrase that underscores the need for discipline as an ally of acceptance and transformation. When we run from parts of ourselves, our fears, doubts, and insecurities, these parts gain even more power, manifesting in unexpected and sometimes harmful ways. Discipline allows us to face with serenity and perseverance the parts we avoid, transforming them by consciously integrating them. This act is, in itself, a profound form of self-mastery. We can understand discipline, then, as a process of inner alchemy. It is the fire that transmutes unexplored aspects of our psyche into self-knowledge, purpose, and harmony. As we learn to be disciplined with our thoughts, emotions, and attitudes, we begin to observe patterns that previously went unnoticed. We see how our history, beliefs, and traumas have shaped who we are today, and, more than that, we take control to write a new chapter, a chapter in which we are aware of our choices and freed from the automatic reactions of the unconscious. Self-mastery isn't about rigidity or perfectionism. On the contrary, it represents the ability to act with freedom and clarity, to respond to the world from a connection with the self, with our values, and with what truly matters to us. This power is the fruit of a compassionate, flexible discipline that acknowledges our limits and respects our pace without binding us to an unattainable ideal. It's the strength that allows us to say yes to what expands us and no to what weakens us, building a life that's more aligned and meaningful. Discipline, as self-mastery, is a force that transcends superficial appearances or social expectations. It's a personal and courageous journey towards our own center, towards our own sense of purpose. This process is both transformative and liberating, making us the masters of our own destiny and enabling us to live authentically and purposefully, beyond the illusions of the ego and external pressures. I invite you to reflect on the role of discipline in your life. How can it be applied not to restrict, but to liberate? Where can you develop the self-mastery further to achieve a deeper connection with your authentic self? Ultimately, discipline is the fertile ground for realizing our highest potential, helping us cultivate a fuller existence and an ongoing journey of individuation. In the end, each small act of discipline and self-awareness strengthens our essence, allowing our inner light to shine brighter and illuminate the path not only for ourselves but also for those around us.